Councilmember Madewell,
Present.
Councilmember Schwartz,
Present.
Deputy Mayor Martinez,
Present.
Mayor Myers,
Present.
absent is Councilmember Scog.
You need a motion to excuse?
Second.
Hearing some feedback over here. It's our little display here.
It sounds like it's coming from here. Yeah.
I think it's all of them.
It's all.
Well, we have a motion and a second to excuse Councilmember Scog. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Opposed? Motion passes. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Does any council member wish to move a consent agenda item to a business item for individual discussion and vote, or make other modifications to tonight's agenda? Need a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Citizens communications, we do have two. We'll give you a maximum of 5 minutes to speak. Please be respectful of other people's points of view and direct any comments or questions to the council. Council can request staff research comments for potential future action. We will start with Alicia DeLuigi. Please state your name and city of residence for the record.
Good evening, Alicia DeLuigi, Lisa from Moses Lake. I wanted to invite you guys to attend and/or if you know anybody that needs backpacks for back to school. Tomorrow, the Restore City is going to be having their event from 6 to 8. And then Thursday at Endeavor, the Moses Lake School District, DCYF, and the Boys and Girls Club will be hosting theirs. I think it's from 3 to 6 or 4 to 6. I wanted to also say thank you to Dawn and Mark for helping out, and Kirsten for helping out with the issue with the Restore City parking lot building. And I'm really amazed at how quickly we got that SEPA approved. So thank you for building those connections and helping speed that process up. That I greatly appreciate that. This one's a little bit ahead of myself, but I talked to you guys about the upcoming opioid settlement. SCOTUS has it held up right now, at least until December. But I would like for you, I'm asking in advance for when the disbursement of the funds and between you guys and the county, and I apologize, I think I said 4 million but when I told you guys about it, it's actually closer to 5 million. Yay. But I would like for you guys to consider the disbursement to go towards some care for police and for firefighters, responders, as well as the Moses Lake Community Coalition, because that's a preventative task force under the umbrella of Renew. But like I said, that's a little bit in advance. With regards to the graffiti, I had an opportunity to look over the proposed changes in the ordinance. And I would ask, until I know for sure that we have worked with the Department of Ecology to get approval for funds to be able to use state and or public funds for private purposes. I asked that we are kind of that we adopt it, but we take a hands-off approach with regards to finding people for that because there's money opportunities out there and it's a process that we have to follow so we don't get in trouble. But also with the Department of Ecology, I believe that they could also help out with like how some of the private landowners have garbage and stuff that could possibly help out with that cleanup too. So that's a super big plus. We just have to work with the Department of Ecology. So please make sure that that gets done. Lastly, with regards to the homeless contract, something's not vibing right with me. It's 1.52 acres and we're being charged $60,500 a year for a contract with an inclusion. It's a well-written contract, but it also has like a no competition clause in it. And I didn't see anywhere what the basic appraisal is of that land. Those numbers aren't working right for me. And so can somebody please explain to me, is this, I looked over the most recent contract. I didn't have opportunity to look over the last contracts. That's just kind of a lot of money. And I realize that it's not coming out of the general fund, it's coming out of the homeless, but is that coming through the state? Is that the local taxpayers or is it federal, or where is this money coming from and where can we justify that much for rent? Can anybody give me an answer?
I can tell you that is not market rent. I'll be the first one to say it. I was surprised how well we did. I can tell you the value of that dirt and the formula that a commercial lease is, it's much higher than that.
Okay.
Just to let you know, I mean, I'm in real estate and I would tell you that most commercial leases, ground leases are 10 to 12% of the value of the dirt.
So what is the value of the 1.52 acres? Okay. Would you be willing to get back to me with regards to that? Because maybe it's just that I don't understand. And I'm willing to say that up front, but when I saw those numbers, my head kind of was like, not jiving with it. And so, yeah, and I trust in your competence with regards to that.
I'll point out too that it's a short-term lease versus, it's not a 10-year lease. It's, I believe, just a 2.
Yeah, it was,
So that's gonna affect how much as well. So,
okay. And where are the funds coming from?
I believe ARPA funding.
The ARPA funds?
ARPA
And those are federal funds, right?
Federal funding. Mhm.
Okie dokie. Yeah, so let's work with the Department of Ecology so that we can get the cleanup properly paid for and the graffiti, because I know that we all care about that. Yeah,
you.
thank you. And thank you for better explaining to me. So I'm not like freaking out over $60,000. Does
Victor,
anybody have any questions or?
thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Victor will hold your spot until we get to the graffiti ordinance. Moving on to the mayor's report, we have Childhood Cancer Month proclamation, and I will read that. And I don't know, do we have Director Angel? Okay, awesome. I'll read this and then I'll give this to you. Whereas pediatric cancer is the leading cause of death by disease in children, and whereas 1 in 285 children in the United States will be diagnosed by their 20th birthday. And whereas 80% of childhood cancer cases are diagnosed only after the disease has metastasized and spread to other parts of the body. And whereas on average, there has been a 0.6% increase in the incidence per year since the mid-1970s, resulting in an overall incident increase of 24% over the last 40 years. And whereas 2/3 of childhood cancer patients will have long-lasting chronic conditions as a result of the treatment they go through. And whereas the National Cancer Institute recognizes the unique research needs of childhood cancer and increased funding to conduct this research. And whereas researchers and healthcare professionals work diligently to dedicate their expertise to treat and cure children with cancer. And whereas in the last 30 years, only 6 new drugs have been approved by the FDA to specially treat childhood cancer. And whereas hundreds of nonprofit organizations at the local and national level are helping children with cancer and their families cope through educational, emotional, and financial support. Now, therefore, I, the mayor and city council members of Moses Lake, do hereby proclaim September 2023 as Childhood Cancer Awareness Month in the city of Moses Lake. And I encourage all people in our city to join me in this special observance. Thank you.
Okay. Hey, I just wanted to say thank you very much. I'm Angel from the Cancer Foundation. We service, this is very special to us. As you know, kids are special. Cancer is horrible, especially in kids. So we have about 10 active clients right now that are young adult and or pediatric cancer. Most of them get shipped off out of town before we get a chance to help them out because it's urgent and the facilities they need to go to are out of this area. However, if there is anybody that you know, cancer of all ages, we are there to help. We were born and raised in 2000. We are local. We service Grant and Adams County. We give out over $8,500 a month in gas and grocery. An update on the radiation facility. It is due to open October, the second week in October. So we have worked really hard with Confluence Health Foundation. And so we're very excited to have radiation in town. That's a lot of driving that a lot of people will not have to do anymore. There'll still be people who drive out of town for treatment, and we'll still be here to help them. So we just really appreciate your support. And that is our goal, is to service our community and their families when they're going through this tough time, because nobody should go through it alone. So we appreciate the recognition and thank you. Oh, yes, thank you. I just came from my Craft Out Cancer event meeting. And so we have 2 fundraisers a year. This Saturday, noon to 6, we have beer tasting and a live band from 4 to 6 at 10 Pin Brewery. And you can even mini golf now that they have mini golf. So this Saturday, if you want to come out to support, all the funds stay local. And that's how we raise money from the beautiful community like yourselves. So come on out. Thank you.
Thank you. Last thing on my report is I'd like to ask council on some support on a joint meeting with the Grant County 5 commissioners, just to discuss the future of the fire service here at Moses Lake and surrounding areas. So I just need consensus if we can get the city manager to set that meeting up. Okay, and we'll send out a poll for meeting times.
Okay. Mayor, is there timing that you'd like to do this? I mean, are you talking in the next few weeks, month, couple of months? Yeah, any idea as far as timing goes? Or the sooner?
Where we can fit it in with all the stuff that's happening.
Okay.
I know anything that we decide to do is going to be a process, so.
I will get with them and see if we can have a conversation.
Okay.
Or a joint meeting.
I appreciate it.
Mr. Mayor, can I add one thing?
Yep.
We do have access to Deputy Chief Lindeman with Chelan County 1. He is the chief that wrote the legislative brief for regionalization. He has agreed to come down and talk, go through all of the pitfalls that they went through, some of the lessons learned. Chelan 1, City of Wenatchee, and Douglas 2 have just recently gone through a regionalization process. And he has most graciously offered to come down and sit down with council and do a question and answer period with you.
So Mayor, given that information, would you like to have him come and meet with just this group? Or would you like him to come down and meet with both groups?
I think it'd be beneficial to meet with both groups.
Okay, I'll set up a meeting and see if we can coordinate schedules with that gentleman.
Thank you.
Perfect.
Thank you, Chief. Does council wish to have any business brought to a future meeting? Hearing none, we can move on to the city manager's report.
Thank you, Mayor. I've got several items and I'll make this quick. City manager interviews are scheduled for Tuesday, September 6th and Wednesday, the 7th. We're going to do a meet and greet on the evening of the 6th, 4 o'clock. Oh, sorry, 5th and 6th. My dates are off. 5th and 6th of September. At 4 o'clock, we're going to have a meet and greet with the candidates with just city staff. And at 5 o'clock, have a public meet and greet session so they can give their intros twice. And then Wednesday, the following morning, we will do the interviews, 3 different panels. We've got all the interview, the panels set, and so we're good. It'll be a mix between directors and citizens that will sit on those panels. So that is rocking and rolling, and all 3 candidates have confirmed. So Lisa brought up Sleep Center, and it got me thinking. We applied for the grant with the county commissioners last week for a little over $600,000. Our request is a little over $600,000 to help fund new sheds, the pallet structures, and a new bathroom facility at the Sleep Center. So I talked to Commissioner Jones last week. We should hear on that pretty soon. And so if we get it, I'll let you know, but that would come out of their funding to help support that. So, and then a few more, you saw agenda bill in your packet from finance about the ERP. We did an RFP. It's been narrowed down to the top vendor. So we are looking for approval to move forward with working with that vendor to work up a scope of work and a contract and all that. And so I'm just looking for head nods. I don't believe we need a motion, do we? Just head nods. We're good with going with that. Okay. And then also in there, you saw a parking citation delinquent fee ordinance that I do need a motion on, if you guys will accept that. And that is our old fee schedule had $30, but we were charging 33, but we're only allowed to charge 25. So we need to make it right. So the ordinance is to make it a $25 fee. So any questions on that? Mayor, I need a motion on that.
Thank you. Motion and a second. Any other questions, discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Thank you.
Motion passes.
And then the last thing is I'm going to turn it over to our parks. I'm going to say Parks and Rec. I can't say everything. So Parks and Rec Director, Doug, to give a presentation. Parks, Recreation, Cultural Services, et cetera.
We can just go with Director of Fun.
There you go. I'm good with that.
Good evening. Greg, could you get us up there? Thank you. So I wanted to come to council tonight, and I would like to present to the mayor and council members the Ehlers Park equipment installation. This was a great community collaboration. The Rotary Club and Kiwanis Club, in collaboration with city staff, worked together to upgrade and improve Ehlers Park on the corner of 3rd and Dogwood. So I've got some pictures here. I'm just going to walk through and show you what was done. If you had been to Ehlers Park before, you would see that it was a big, kind of grass area with a lot of trees, pretty nice park, but not much to do there. So Rotary and both Rotary and we're not advancing. There we go. Rotary and Kiwanis worked together to raise the funds for this at their golf outing. And then the Rotary Club came to the city and said, hey, we'd like to upgrade the park at Ehlers Park with some features. So you can see here they're installing, these are cement features that are secured in the park. They do not move. This is the actual day of installation. The table they're putting in there is actually a ping pong table. It weighs approximately 2,500 pounds. So nobody is going to walk off with it. You can see them here working together to get it in there. City staff alongside of Rotary Club members put all this stuff in. And my slide is paused again. There it is. No, it isn't. Okay. The next slide, I'll go ahead and see if it'll move. Nope. There we go. There's the next one. So the net on this is permanent. It's completely installed and stays there. So we have a ping pong table there now. We also have, and it should come up here any minute, 2 sets of cornhole boards that are cement. There they are. So we have 2 sets there of cornhole boards, or people can come play cornhole at the park. They are there full time. Those are not movable. So they will be there in perpetuity. And then the final thing that they installed should come up here in a few minutes, but it's a chess table. So now there's a table and 2 stools. You can see it in the background of that picture on the far right side of the screen there, but it'll come up in a little closer shot here in a second. The chess table, and what we are working to do as parks is to have equipment available for checkout at Larson Rec Center. So if somebody wants to come and get equipment to play chess, they can come, leave us an ID, go take the chess set out there, play chess with their friend, bring it back, get their ID back, and move on with their day. So we are looking at doing all of that and getting all that put together. But I wanted to acknowledge both Rotary and Kiwanis for their contribution to this park. I thank them deeply, and I was just informed via email this afternoon that apparently Rotary is looking at putting in another feature in this park with those same funds. So it would be another community donation for Rotary and Kiwanis together to this park. I have no more details than there's a possibility we might be getting more there. So just to keep you up on all of that, but that's the situation there. And if there are any Rotary Club members, I did reach out to see if Rotary could attend or invite anybody. I'd invite them to stand and be recognized. You can stand too, sir. Thank you very much, guys.
I greatly appreciate both those clubs. They do a lot for our community, not just the small part donations. So I know they are very well known and very much appreciated. Thank you, guys. Is that all you have?
Mayor, that is all I have for the city manager's report.
Thank you. We can move on to the consent agenda. All items are considered to be routine and will be enacted by one motion. Need a motion to approve.
Mayor, before you do that, can I get you to add H, the Marina Drive covenant that I sent to you via email? Just to add that on there so we can also approve that.
We'll add item H.
I just put Marina Drive covenant. I don't remember what it was called, so. Thank you.
I move to approve the consent agenda with item H as presented.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Old business graffiti regulations ordinance 3032. We'll start off with the city manager and staff presentation.
Thank you, Mayor. Excuse me. I've been working on a graffiti ordinance for a little while now. I perused through, I believe 8 different city ordinances. Most of the ordinance that you see before you came from Lakewood, but there were some other pieces to some other ordinances that I kind of liked. And so I kind of piecemealed it together. It includes, obviously, well, first and foremost, it will make graffiti nuisance its own standalone chapter. And that it describes or defines what graffiti is, what graffiti implements are. So there's some definitions in there, and those were vetted and added to by our city attorney based on a recent court case. It includes a rewards piece. It includes making prohibiting juveniles from possessing graffiti implements. It asks our local businesses to put some signage up and not sell graffiti implements to juveniles. It still has a kind of a penalty phase for property owners that don't clean up graffiti, but we made it a $25 fine for that. And the goal obviously is to get compliance with working with the property owners and not charge $25. There is also a graffiti abatement program description in there where if people don't have the funds to clean up or paint over graffiti, that they can come to the city and we would help provide some tools for them to be able to take care of those needs. So if there are any questions, I would be more than happy to answer those.
Before we get to the council discussion, we do have citizen comment on this. Victor Lombardi, if you'd step up to the mic, name and city of residence, please.
Victor Lombardi, Moses Lake. Want to compliment the city council for acting so swiftly on this. I presented the citizens' concern on this topic about a month ago, and you've really stepped up to the plate. So I really, really appreciate that. And also commend Police Chief Furr for what I would describe as an excellent first step. It's clear, it's concise, it's straightforward. There's some notations and points that I'd like to put out because this is going to be an ongoing situation. Taggers are very, very clever, and it's been going on for a long, long time. One of the items here is that previously we had an abatement period where we gave citizens about 10 days to take care of it. It's been reduced now to 3 days. That might seem drastic, but it really is not. There's other cities that are down to 2 days, the city of Bellingham being one of them. And the fact that we're offering supplies when needed, that's really the main factor for success programs in these other cities. And I'll talk a little bit about that. In the last paragraph of the abatement program, it says when adequate funds are available. And I've talked in the past about ARPA funds, and they can be used. The city of Linwood is one of them. The city of Bellingham uses ARPA funds in 2 different graffiti programs. I spoke in length with Linwood City Council President Shannon Sessions about this, and she forwarded to me the proposal and the approval for it. In their particular case, where it applies here, they have used $25,000 strictly for supplies. So that's a biggie. And the Parks and Rec director there, Lynn Sordell, when I spoke to him, because he was putting it together, he said this is a career moment for him. It's been that successful. Secondly, the city of Bellingham, which has a much more robust and comprehensive plan, they actually use their version of the Downtown Association to do free cleanup using $30,000 of ARPA funds. Now, I'm not suggesting or recommending that we go that route. That's up to you, City Council, if you decide it warrants it. These are just ideas to remember going forward. Also, the police version for the city of Bellingham, Deputy Chief Don Ulmer's program has been so successful that he's actually doing PowerPoint presentations right now to other cities. In the city itself performing an abatement, it's noted in our ordinance that we might have to do that in case of citizens not cooperating or perhaps not being home or houses being abandoned. The city of Bellingham has a waiver and a hold harmless that allows citizens to allow the police and the city to do the abatement, and I have a copy of that as well. Lastly, city structures, property, U.S. government agency property, more specifically, mailboxes. I'm not sure if this ordinance covers that. Perhaps you can add to that. I'm assuming also that the city would also be required to take care of graffiti on their buildings within 3 days. And we have a lot of telephone poles, and that's a favorite target. And I believe that's the PUD's responsibility. So will the PUD also be held to that 3-day. So these are just some questions that I have, and perhaps in further discussions on this program, you could talk about that. So thank you very much and have a great day.
Thank you. I'll now open for council discussion or questions. Councilmember Fancher.
I did have a question because just thinking of some of the commercial businesses. Probably another big place is the trash receptacles. PUD, the other thing is the PUD transformers. PUD, I mean, they usually take care of it. It's just time more than anything.
And the reason that is shortened is because obviously the longer the graffiti sits there, the more it gets graffitied over the top of. And so the quicker we can get it out of there, hopefully it will probably not going to stop the graffiti, but at least maybe it'll stop it for a little while at that location. When it comes to the PD, I'm going to reach out to them. They have a substation over on Paxson that is constantly getting hit. I'm going to ask them if they would be willing to throw some cameras up there because catching kids graffitiing is extremely difficult. We are also, the PD is also putting cameras up around some areas in the city using our portable camera systems to see if we can catch kids committing acts of graffiti.
So I have two questions too, to follow up to that real quick, because not to call Jeremy out because he is with the PUD, but he might not know. And then also the dumpsters. I mean, because time, I get that time is important. Neither one of those are the property owner's property. And I guess we could ask, in regards to the dumpsters, as long as they paint them green, can the owner paint over them?
I would assume that would be between the property
Yeah, so you'd have to
owner
deal with them.
and the
Well, I know the answer that I got on mine was, we'll get to it. Don't paint our, I'm like, well, they did such a nice art job on it for me before.
that might be a conversation we have with the
But we just get some clarification. I think the PUD is the same thing. They don't want me paint them. I can tell you that, but sometimes it's not quick.
and our code enforcement will work with them and
Okay.
have conversations and try to get the ball rolling as quick as we can.
Councilmember Madewell.
So I have a question. I have a little bit of confusion, maybe just for me. You have 72 hours in 8.16.04 or O, and then you have 10 days. So can you help me out the difference between the two? I read what it said, but the 72 hours and then the 10 days. So please explain.
Okay. I don't have the ordinance in front of me. Where is the 10 days? What is that listed under?
I believe the
It-
10 days was to pay if the city abated.
Oh, okay. So it's not, the 10 days isn't to clean it up.
It's if you want to appeal.
Oh, yeah.
And so, but you have, so I guess that for me, I'm just trying to understand the difference between the 72 hours. But if I want to appeal it, do I have to clean it up and then appeal? Help me.
Well, I think if somebody says that they don't want to clean it up and they want to appeal, actually, I don't know how that would work. I'm trying to figure out, I suppose if they didn't clean it up and they just wanted to appeal the code enforcement's decision or fine, then they could go that route. So,
And then also it was brought to my attention, and we've already talked a little bit about it, the city's graffiti. What are we going to do there? So I'm just asking the question because I was asked the question.
we will get it cleaned up. We will get it cleaned up promptly. So, we will get it cleaned up.
Okay.
I guess I'll leave it at that because the same thing is to what I just said. The longer it sits there, the more graffiti that we're going to end up over the top of it. It's going to end up being red, then it's going to end up being blue, then it's going to end up being white, and then probably black. And anyway, it will continue to get hit, and the quicker we get it off, the quicker it goes away.
I know the city parks department has been pretty quick about getting the bathrooms cleaned up if they're aware of it. And I know with the security going around, seem to be keeping an eye on it, so it's
And
Getting
we might have a way to put cameras, which will be a budget item for next year, but put cameras in the parks. We were just talking about Wi-Fi connections in the parks. And once we get Wi-Fi connections, I think that gives us an opportunity to put cameras in there to secure our facilities. So better secure our facilities, I guess I should say.
Councilmember Fancher.
Speaking of cameras, I mean, because we're getting Maple Grove, the block fence has been hit now a couple times. We can camera that, but they're not very identifiable.
That is an issue.
So,
Motion cameras are good if people are paying attention to the camera, because when they get the motion and they can see what's going on the screen, then they can call us. We maybe have a better chance of
better
catching them at
chance,
that
yeah.
time.
Okay.
But you're right. I mean, cameras are good to be able to see who's doing what, or maybe when they're doing it. But if their face is covered, if they've got a hoodie on, something like that, it's a little, that's why I said.
well, and our thing is we typically have to put the cameras up pretty high or they disappear.
Yeah.
And then so it's
Absolutely.
coming down.
Or get damaged. We've had a camera shot a couple of times, so.
Any other discussion or questions? We're looking for a motion to adopt at this time.
So moved.
Second. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. New business item number 3, the 2023 budget amendment ordinance 3033, presented by Madeline Prentice, our finance director.
Good evening. So in the packet tonight, you have the list of the second budget amendments that we are requesting for this year. As you will notice in the packet, the majority of those, or a lot of those, are budget corrections, things that didn't get in the budget, things that we missed. And then there are some new initiatives as well. Bottom line is what this does is it adds $80,000 to the general fund and the 2.7 million total to the budget for 2023 for these budget amendments. The largest item, of course, is one item that was a carry forward from last year for the North Shore Lift Station. It was budgeted last year. We didn't carry forward the full amount. We only spent about $360,000 for that project last year, even though the majority of the project was budgeted last year and it got missed in this year's budget. So we're requesting this budget amendment for this year.
Deputy Mayor Martinez.
Out of curiosity, how does it, and this is going to sound critical, but I don't mean it at all. How does it not get carried over? Is there something in the process that isn't working correctly that's been identified so it doesn't continue to happen?
Correct. Last year, as you know, it was kind of a mad dash for me to learn the budget
Right,
process.
yeah.
And I think that last year for most of the department managers and directors, it was a new budget process. And so things just got missed, unfortunately. We have a much better process in place this year. We have already met with most of the department directors and managers for the budget going into 2024. And we are working on the budgets will be due back to me on next Monday. And we will again have further meetings with managers as necessary. We've already identified all of the capital projects, those that are carry forwards, as well as those that are new initiatives going into 2024. So we already have identified the amount for 24 that is a carry forward, amounts for 25 that we're budgeting out. So we've got that process nailed down now.
Thank you. I knew you would. Just was curious. Thanks.
Any other discussion or questions? Need a motion to approve ordinance 3033. Thank you.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other questions, comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Any other administrative reports?
I don't believe so, but I'm looking down. Anybody have any? Nope. Mayor, I believe we're good. No, we're not doing that.
Moving on to the council committee reports. We'll start with Councilmember Schwartz.
Let's see. Yes, we met with the committee a few weeks ago for second time. It went really well. Doug actually had a lot more information than I thought he would, so there's a lot going on. No, amongst the multitude of facts that he did share with us, actually Carrie shared with us some things too, but the usage of the facilities and the programs is way up right now. Which hearing the gentleman from Eastern speak tonight, probably, those numbers are in line with the population growth or has something to do with it. But also I think that I'm going to guess that there's a higher number of citizens than average using our facilities. So it's good to know that some of those investments are going to good use.
I don't have anything. Thank you.
Councilmember Fancher.
Yeah, we did have our Community Development Public Works Committee today, committee meeting, not a lot of items were talked about. We did talk a little bit about the well rehab that they've been doing, and they're working diligently on that, and hopefully we'll get a full report before long. I guess what I would say is they have been lowering the wells with not a lot of success of getting more water. So there'll be more to come on that, and also give a report on working with the Bureau of Reclamation and getting a good ear there on M&I water from the Bureau, which could be a huge deal for us. So we're going to be asking the entire council at some point for some good ear because that's feds with Congress. Also, Grant County Economic Development meeting. They do not have one in August. I did not have that meeting. Thanks.
Councilmember Eck. Deputy Mayor Martinez.
Grant County Board of Health, we're getting back to what health boards or health districts have been doing, preventative and surveillance. Just to share with you some of the things, like our sexually transmitted illness rate's pretty high for Grant County. When COVID happened, we weren't able to provide medications or treatment to partners. So those numbers have continued to be high. We've been able now to move forward with those types of programs so that we can treat partners and get those numbers down so they're not taking up time in the ER. The other thing too is we have warnings, blue-green algae warnings. If you want to look up, if you're thinking about boating this weekend, because it looks like the weather's going to be good and hopefully smoke's gone. There's warnings in the Middle Moses Lake, South Moses Lake, and by Potholes Reservoir. And you can look that up on the website, granthealth.org, and just type in blue-green algae monitoring. Excuse me. I had the opportunity to attend the AWC budget workshop. I have pages and pages of notes, lots of good stuff for me to review and learn and maybe pass along at some point, not necessarily in a council meeting, but it was definitely worth the trip and just again learning more about the role we play as have as city council. The Moses Lake Watershed Committee, I did not attend because it was the opening ceremony for our Grant County Fair, which was, despite the poor weather, I think the fair did pretty well. But back to the watershed, the upcoming item for watershed is the State of the Lake, which will be occurring. If you want to save the date, it's September 19th. I don't have the details for the time or the place, but it basically brings all the partners together, and City of Moses Lake being one of the partners for Watershed Council, to talk about what's going on with our lake. And, since you live here, that the lake's pretty important for our tourism and for people wanting to come here and live here and work here. So I think that's it.
Thank you. Just two items in regards to the Grant Transit Authority. We did extend an offer to a new director or general manager who accepted. His name is Eric Loomis, coming from Oregon, fairly close to Portland, but he's got some pretty good experience in a area that's similar in size to ours. So he, in my opinion, did amazing on the interview. And he was my strong favorite out of the three that we interviewed. So I'm glad to have him come aboard. I think his start date is September 15th. So we're glad to have him aboard. We also hopefully can see some new buses on the streets. We received some grants for some very large buses that'll be doing runs to Ephrata and back. And then our electric buses hopefully coming online soon. They're working on a couple bugs with the charging infrastructure, but we'll see those roaming around town. And they are very unique looking, so they're easy to spot. That is all I have. We will now. Yes, the budget is doing very well for GTA, so we're yes. Yes, Mark.
I was gonna make one more comment in regards to the presentation, just for out there. I just ran a bunch of year-end stats the last few years on real estate. The numbers were spot on. But what wasn't said in there, this, which we do the analysis on, we're still selling every house we can get done. It's the high market is the tough one. The the 450,000 plus is the market that has slowed down, and the other 450 plus. But what we did do the analysis on is the people. It's the interest rate is probably the main driver in it. The people are buying the same payment, and so that difference in median price is versus the rates a year ago versus where they are today is about that change. So that reflects back to what our people make and what they can afford. So that's what the piece when he was kind of not saying the whole deal. Yeah.
Our next regular council meeting is September 12th with an early start at 6 p.m. for a study session on fire impact fees. We will now be going into an executive session for 15 minutes to discuss potential litigation pursuant to RCW 42.30.110 parentheses 1 subsection I. And the meeting will adjourn following the session at 7:45. Thank you.